I'm pretty sure that's legal. Okay, before we get started, I wanted to say we got a production update. We have a new hammer. It's not rusty, and I got new uniform. Am I the jerk for not showing up to my own engagement after finding out my boyfriend was planning to propose? TLDR, I will summarize for you. So basically, our protagonist, 28F, has been explaining that I just looked at the age differences and my brain kind of okay has explained that my boyfriend and I have been wanting to get married. We've been talking about it, and it's something that is going to happen. Okay, it is something that is going to happen. It's just a matter of how and when. So on and so forth. They explain I don't really like big announcements. I don't like to make it a big deal. I just wanted to make something intimate, more between us, and stuff like that. Okay? And so on. They get this feeling like, I have a feeling that it is going to be something big against my wishes. So on, her boyfriend invites her to a dinner, reservation and everything, but she has a vibe. She's like, I don't know. So she calls her friend, hey friend. So I have a weird vibe about the dinner. Do you know anything? And the friend confesses, yes. They're going to propose to you at dinner. And so on, she calls her boyfriend, and she's like, is this true? How many people are going to be there? And he explains, I have reserved a table for 75 people. And she's like, I didn't want this. You are going against my wishes and you're making me uncomfortable. I would like to go with you. So on, you cancel the proposal at the dinner table. You could just make it a regular dinner, just, everyone's hanging out, cool, we're cool. But then he says, no, I have told a few people and word got around that I was going to propose to you. So she's like, that's awesome, so I'm not going. And then she hangs up and she's like, I don't feel comfortable, so I'm just not going to deal with this. So on and so forth. After this happens, the boyfriend comes back, he's angry, and he calls her ungrateful and that so many would give and pow to be in her position. So many would just love to be in that position with that grand gesture, but she had clarified that is not something I would like. So she explains that this is something they've been arguing about for about a week and no one's backing down unless she apologizes. So let's get right into it. I don't think she's a jerk. I really don't. Why? Because from the jump, she was like, this is not something I'm interested in. This is not something I want. I have clarified. It does not feel. No. She had said, yes, I'm willing to marry. This is something I'm interested in. Awesome, great. But how this proposal was going to go through is another story. Because it is such a big difference in telling 5 people to 75. That's almost 80, buddy. And then it's not even just them. It is the matter of fact that there's other people in the restaurant, not just the 75 that you reserved the table for, but rather the other people there too. It is like presenting in front of a class. I can understand why people would be nervous and stuff. You're just putting that unnecessary pressure on top of her that she had already clarified. I don't want that pressure. And then he has the nerve to be indignant, like, you embarrassed me. No, dude. No. If you're so worried about being embarrassed, how do you think she felt when she told you, that is not something I am interested in? I didn't want to be public like this. I didn't want to make it a big deal. How do you think she felt? Like, both. You didn't have to be put in this position, but you put yourself in this position. Also, I don't know if I'm gonna leave it in my reaction in the beginning, but like, they have 10 years of difference. So she says, I, 28F, have known for a while that my BF, 38M, was going to propose. 28, 38. There's like, it definitely needs some work and some restructuring. I would say talk and reevaluate how people think things. The protagonist was fine. She didn't do anything wrong. It's just that, like, let's talk it out and work some things out before they make big plans like this, especially if you have already clarified and warned what you do and do not want. Moving on. Okay, and for the following story. Am I the jerk for using my husband's birthday gift money to buy my daughter a bike after her stepsister refused to share her bike with her? This one was spicy, bro. TLDR summary. This guy has a daughter, and this protagonist, the girl, has her daughter. So essentially, stepsister and the daughter, right? The stepdaughter has a bike, and she likes it really much. She's like, "Oh, it's my favorite bike. I'm not gonna let anyone touch it." And this includes the sister. The sister is like, "Oh, I really want to use your bike." And then she gets upset because the stepsister is not letting her, and she gets so upset, and she cries, and she's upset. Some time goes by. The stepdaughter stops using the bike. It is laying in the garage. So the daughter takes this as an opportunity, like, hey, she's not using it, so let me try my chances at using the bike since no one's using it and it's just sitting there to rust. Right? So then the mother gets home and she sees her daughter crying on the porch while her stepdad, is in the living room watching TV. She asks, what's wrong? And she says, I wanted to use the bike because it's in the garage and no one's using it. Okay, so then the mom goes, hey, stepdaughter, why can't my daughter use the bike since you're not using it? And the stepdaughter clarifies. She's like, I would rather throw it into the ocean than ever let her use it. And so on and so forth. The daughter is upset. She's like, ugh, I can't use my bike. I mean, I can't use the bike and I really want to use it. Nobody's using it. So on and so forth. The father over here he's like, I think you're giving in to her tantrum. She should learn how to take a no. She should learn how to behave when people tell her, I don't want to share with you. Keep in mind, these are both her daughters, right? Even if they're stepdaughters or whatever, they're still kind of sort of their kid. And so the mother says, I don't think this is fair the way you're treating my kid. Like, that's not okay. And so since she sees the father isn't budging in, she says, okay, that's fine. I'll just use some of the savings from the watch. She had been saving for his birthday to buy her a bike, seeing how upset her daughter was. So she bought it. She was like, okay, my daughter's happy. And then her husband found out, the father. She's like, he was like, where did you get the money to buy her a bike? She explains, it was your birthday gift money. And he gets upset with her as to, why would you do that? You're giving in to her tantrum, so on and so forth. She explains, that is double standards. You allowed your kid to behave a certain way and you treated my kid a certain way, and I didn't think it was okay, so I went with what I thought was best. And what he had been more focused on was embarrassing himself with his friends because he had already been promised a watch. I don't think she's a jerk. Down there it says I spent 200 on my daughter's bike and only 50 was left for the watch savings. I don't care how much was left or how little. That is not my concern right now. It is like if nothing was even left at all, I wouldn't care. Why? Because that is so many red flags right there. Because like, why did he show priority for the daughter but not the stepdaughter? Because already that is such a big red flag. I don't care whose kid it is. If you're in a relationship and they have a kid, but they're not treating your kid the way you're treating theirs, you're lacking. You are the problem. See, it's just that it upsets me. Because, like, he wants to defend it like, oh, you're giving into a tantrum and you're doing this and you're trying to force a no to a yes. No. It's just that you are allowing your kid to be spoiled and a brat and annoying, and you're showing favoritism, which is going to be a problem if this relationship continues. Why? Because you're going to see it in the future. You're going to see it when the kids grow up. You're going to see them when they're more teenagers or just more adults, right? You're going to see who gets more benefits from the dad than the other kid. You're going to see it. You're going to be like, oh, do you need help with this? But the other kid is not going to be offered that same help. You're going to see it. And they're going to be like, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. You should learn how to do it on yourself. You're going to see that type of problem. It is better to cut it off early than allow this type of behavior to continue. Why do I say that? Because it's just that so many people try to hide it like, oh, you should learn how to be independent, but why can't you enforce that type of mindset with the other kid? And they also mentioned the kid's age, but I don't care because neither of them, because it's 13-year-old and 11-year-old. And to me, they're both young. And to make things worse, it's just that like his daughter is 13 and our protagonist's daughter is 11. So obviously feeling a little erratic with not getting what you want is a little more reasonable because you're younger, But throwing the tantrum here would be the 13-year-old. They're a little older, right? And I understand they're not fully developed and all of this, but they're still 2 years older. And you're giving in. You're like, okay, well, they could have it their way. No, they can't. Because they're not using it. They're just sitting there. Secondly, it pisses me off tremendously because you're allowing this behavior to continue. And I want the protagonist to reconsider who they're with before they make choices and see how they prioritize and the reasonings behind those prioritizations. It could lead to so much worse. It really can. But hopefully it does not get there. Let's hope that. But no, not the jerk. Okay, and lastly for tonight, this one was, am I the jerk for lying to my friend's family about where she was so she could leave the country? Alright, starting off rough. TLDR summary. So our protagonist's friend was in a straight relationship and they walked in on their husband that was with another man. And this marriage has been arranged from what I can tell in later details. They go on to return to their family and they say, hey, this is what happened, and they had blamed her for choices that he had made. And allow me to explain a little better. So basically they had said that he had used her as a sort of beard. I'm pretty sure that is Let me explain the term in case you don't know what it is. A beard is usually using another person to appear straight due to whatever reason. They explain here that it was very taboo to be in a same-sex relationship or have any sort of issues in your marriage. Basically, like right now, that there was cheating or that you got left behind. Any of that, very taboo. This is a very traditional setting. So on and so forth. They were like, okay, now it's going to be more difficult because you were left without a partner, and so on and so forth. They went on to look for another husband for her, and they mentioned a senior. So they were looking for someone who was older, a lot older, for her to marry. This person had 4 kids, and they were divorced a number of times, and she didn't want to get in this relationship. As a matter of fact, she was very upset, and she had begged not to get into a relationship, but her parents did not listen, and they were trying to enforce this marriage to happen. However, in comes our protagonist. She says, I don't know their pronouns. Sorry about that. They explained they're a little impulsive, and they said, well, I had savings, so I can help you out of this relationship. So you have a visa, and I have a little bit of money, and I have people and connections that can help you with HR and getting you situated away from this country. Does it sound like a plan? And the friend said, yes, I would like to leave and not be forced into something that I would not like to be in. So they helped her out of the country. And the only reason why they got caught was because their parents, our protagonist, heard them over the phone explaining to their friend, to get there, let me know, just filling them in on what's going on. Their parents got upset, and then they contacted the friend's parents. They said, this is what our kid did. They helped him out of the country. Your kid's not D-word somewhere. We're very upset. They helped him escape. Essentially, they were upset that they had left a bad marriage, or a marriage that was about to happen, that was bad for them. And everyone in their family, is blaming them and calling them an a-hole for helping their friend escape. No, they're not the jerk. Absolutely not. 100% not the jerk. There's so many layers of not good in this situation. Number one, let's get started with number one. Horrible that you had to use someone in order to hide your identity like that. I have heard of it in the past. It is not, I don't think it is as common here in the US, but it is still something that can happen because people are just so backwards minded that they make it such a big deal about who you do and do not like. Like, it's not that big a deal. Why do you care? It's not your relationship. And 2, I do not condone cheating. Absolutely not. 100%. I hate that it had to be this way. That he could only be himself by using her in order to hide from his parents. And then she's the one who got screwed over. Okay. Number 2. Blaming the women in this situation. I understand it's very common, even now and here. It is so... why? It is incredibly stressful to hear. Like, first of all, it wasn't her fault. Number 2, this wouldn't have even been a problem if people weren't so backward minded. Like, if that had ever clicked in your brain, we wouldn't even be in this situation. You understand? Like, nobody would be here. Even I wouldn't be reading this right now. But no, there has to be people in the world who are just not fully developed and educated and stuff and remain, I would say, ignorant and in traditional views. It happens. Sometimes People do not want to come out of their shell and do not want to learn about stuff and do not want to come to accept things. It happens, I know, it sucks, but it is the way it is sometimes. Number 3. Why an old man? I want an explanation as to why they look up to older people to fix the solution. There is such a big disconnect from younger folk to older folk in terms of how they think and process things. In like child psych, I know they were like, oh well, you're more centered to you and what's going on with you, and then as soon as you get older, it is more around the world around you and stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying they're kids, right? But like, it's still a big gap, because this person said they had numerous divorces and they have kids. Our protagonist's friend, I believe they have kids, yeah, right? My brother, yeah, to have kids and to save face, yeah. But even then, one generation of kids is not compared to like 4 generations of kids. I wish I could be more uplifting in this scenario, but like, it's just bad. The only good part here is that she left. She managed to leave and get a better life, hopefully. And that is what we're rooting for. Independent and on her own and well. She is stable and happy. That is what we are wishing for. And that has been all. I hope you enjoyed, despite the last story being a little more on the heavier side. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Comment if you and that is all. Bye bye.